The red dust of Mars hung in the air like mist, swirling around the legs of the soldiers on the training field. Captain Arya Voss stood at the edge of the ridge, watching her unit move through the simulation, clean, tight, focused. The horizon was quiet, lit by the pale sun. For a moment, everything seemed normal. Then her earpiece crackled. "Captain Voss, priority alpha transmission from Earth Command." Arya stiffened. She tapped her comms. "Send it through," she said, already turning toward the command tent. Inside, the screens were glowing red with warning signals. A hologram lit up, showing the Earth Global Council's emergency chamber. Faces from every nation stared out from the screen, grim and pale. In the center stood Counselor Juno Mar, Earth's senior diplomat. Her voice was tight. "Captain Voss, Earth has received a direct communication from the Thalaxian Dominion. They've issued an ultimatum." The room went silent. Even the support staff stopped moving. Mar continued, "We are to surrender all advanced human technology, quantum drives, fusion reactors, AI networks, within 10 Earth days. If we refuse, they will launch a full assault on Earth and its colonies. They claim our independence is a threat to galactic stability." Arya clenched her fists. The Thalaxians had always loomed on the edge of human expansion, watching, judging. But Earth had grown stronger, more capable. The Dominion had tolerated humanity, until now. Mar looked directly at her. "Captain, the Council has selected you to lead the Earth Defense Fleet. Admiral Reese is stepping down due to health. We need someone who can think like a warrior and act like a leader." Arya's heart thudded in her chest. She had trained for war, fought pirates in the asteroid belt, quelled rogue AI on Europa. But this was different. The Thalaxians weren't bandits. They were an empire. Older, larger, and far more ruthless. "I accept," she said. "What's the status of the outer colonies?" "Europa Station is already reinforcing shields. Mars has issued civilian lockdowns. Luna Command is reviewing countermeasures. But none of that will matter if their main fleet reaches Earth." Before she could speak, the screen flickered. A new image pushed its way onto the feed, a jagged alien symbol, glowing in harsh red. Then he appeared. High Regent Vekthar of the Thalaxian Dominion stood in full ceremonial armor, his reptilian eyes cold and flat. His voice was deep, translated instantly by human systems. "Humans," he said, "you have played at power long enough. Your minds have created machines you cannot control. Your species is reckless, dangerous, and naive." He leaned forward. "Surrender your technology, or we will erase your presence from the stars. You have 10 cycles." Then the feed cut out. Silence returned to the command tent. No one breathed. Arya felt the weight of the moment settle on her like gravity. Later that evening, aboard the Mars orbital platform Aegis, she stared out at the stars. Each point of light could be a ship coming to kill them. She held a data slate with defense reports, but her mind was far away. A soft voice interrupted her thoughts. It was Commander Rafi, her second-in-command. "We'll fight," he said quietly. "They don't understand us." Arya looked at him. "They don't need to understand us. They just need to know we won't bow." She turned back to the viewport. "We hold the line. Earth doesn't fall." Far above, in the darkness between planets, the Thalaxian fleet moved into position, silent, efficient, ready. And on Earth, in a sealed chamber beneath the Pacific Ocean, something ancient stirred, something not yet revealed. The icy plains of Europa glowed under the dim light of Jupiter. Crystals of frozen air cracked softly across the moon's surface, masking the presence of the human station buried beneath. Europa Station was a key listening post, silently tracking movement across the outer solar system. Inside, technicians monitored radar sweeps and energy signatures, looking for signs of incoming Thalaxian ships. They didn't expect the attack to come so soon. It began with a power flicker, barely half a second. Lights blinked. Screens turned black. Then alarms screamed. "Multiple contacts," a technician shouted. "They're dropping out of warp, fast." Above the ice, the sky tore open. 5 massive Thalaxian warships appeared without warning. Each ship was shaped like a blade, black and jagged, glowing with green energy. They descended like shadows falling from the stars. Inside the station, panic erupted. Captain Yara Kwan, head of Europa Station, ordered the shields up, but it was too late. The first blast tore through the station's outer defenses. Explosions rocked the command center. People were thrown from their seats. Fire spread through the lower decks. By the time Earth Command received the distress signal, the attack was already underway. On Mars, Captain Arya Voss stood in her flight suit, staring at the burning transmission. Europa Station was under siege. Civilian workers, scientists, and dozens of fleet personnel were trapped inside. No reinforcements were close enough, except Dauntless, the Earth Fleet's command cruiser, which Arya had just taken control of. She didn't hesitate. "We launch now," she said. Within minutes, Dauntless and 3 escort frigates left Mars orbit, heading straight for Europa at emergency speed. The ship's engines hummed like a storm. Arya stood on the bridge, her face lit by the glow of distant Jupiter. "Status on Europa?" she asked. Her officer, Commander Rafi, answered grimly. "Shields failing. Estimated survival time, 20 minutes. They weren't going to make it in time, not unless they took a risk. "Activate the slipwave drive," Arya said. "Ma'am, it's not tested at that range," Rafi warned. "If we wait, they die." The bridge crew exchanged glances, then nodded. The slipwave drive, a quantum leap system, was still experimental. But they had no choice. The stars bent. The ship jolted. Then, in a flash, Dauntless arrived in Europa orbit. What they saw made the crew go silent. Europa Station was breaking apart. Fire streamed into space. 2 Thalaxian ships hovered above it, firing calmly. The other 3 had turned to face Dauntless. "Target all weapons," Arya ordered. "Engage." Lasers lit the void. The Dauntless roared to life, its cannons tearing through space. The frigates flanked left and right, drawing fire away from the station. One of the Thalaxian ships launched a swarm of attack drones, black orbs that buzzed toward the human fleet. Rafi shouted, "They're trying to flank." Arya stood firm. "Rotate shield vector. Target their propulsion cores." The battle was brutal. One of the human frigates exploded in a burst of plasma, its remains spinning into Europa's gravity. The crew of Dauntless worked without pause, shouting coordinates, firing everything they had. Then came the turning point. A well-aimed plasma round from Dauntless struck the largest Thalaxian cruiser dead center. Its hull cracked, split, and finally shattered into drifting metal. The other Thalaxian ships began to retreat, fading into warp. The battle was over. Dauntless docked with what was left of Europa Station. Fire still burned inside. Rescue teams moved quickly, pulling survivors from collapsed corridors. Captain Yara Kwan, bloodied and bruised, met Arya near the command core. "You came," she said weakly. "Of course," Arya replied. "We don't leave our own." Later, in the dark stillness of her quarters aboard Dauntless, Arya watched the casualty report scroll across her screen. Over 300 dead, another 200 wounded. Europa Station was no longer operational. Earth had survived its first strike, but barely. The news spread across the solar system. People mourned. Others raged. The Thalaxians had drawn first blood. Now, Earth would answer. Arya closed her screen. She didn't speak for a while. Then, to no one in particular, she said quietly, "This war won't be won by strength alone." A soft chime came from her comms. "Captain," said a voice, "you've been summoned by the Earth Council. They want to discuss something classified, called Project Prometheus." Arya's eyes narrowed. She stood up. "Prepare for departure." The transport ship descended into Earth's atmosphere with a smooth burn through cloud and gravity. Captain Arya Voss sat alone in the rear cabin, watching the blue planet fill the window. The green oceans and scattered cities looked peaceful from up here. But the scars of war were already forming. Cities reinforcing their skies, orbital cannons being reactivated, bunkers being stocked. Earth was preparing for the worst. The ship landed silently on a platform deep in the Pacific Ocean. It was part of a forgotten installation called Echo 7, decommissioned decades ago, now repurposed in secret. The entrance was invisible to the naked eye, only known to top military command. 2 security bots greeted Arya and scanned her twice. She followed a narrow steel hallway down into the ocean bed facility. The deeper she went, the colder the air grew. Lights flickered in the tunnel ahead. There were no windows, just walls of reinforced metal. At the end of the corridor, a steel door opened with a hiss. A man stood waiting for her in a stark white lab coat, holding a datapad. "Captain Voss," he said. "I'm Dr. Eli Yannick. Welcome to Prometheus." Arya raised an eyebrow. "Let's see it." Yannick led her through a secured chamber into a vast underground lab. At its center stood a towering machine, black, sleek, and humming with quiet power. Strange coils pulsed with blue light around its base. Hovering around the machine were several drone engineers and 2 AI interfaces, their faces displayed on floating glass panels. "This is Prometheus," Yannick said. "It's a quantum field weapon. It doesn't fire projectiles or energy. It disrupts reality around enemy ships, collapsing their command systems, shutting down engines, and wiping memory cores. It doesn't kill directly, but it ends the fight in seconds." Arya walked slowly around the machine. "Why haven't we used it already?" Yannick hesitated. "Because it's unstable. We've tested it only once. It worked too well. The test ship vanished from existence. We never recovered it. It left behind a gravitational scar that hasn't faded. This isn't a bomb, Captain. It's rewriting how space behaves." Arya frowned. "And you kept building it." "We had no choice. We knew this day might come." He tapped the glass panel. A simulation appeared, Thalaxian ships turning to static, blinking out of space. Others spun uncontrollably into nearby moons. Some just froze, every system dead. "Prometheus is powered by a neural AI," Yannick continued. "It responds to human intent. That means it only activates when it senses a clear directive or a moment of desperation." Arya folded her arms. "Let me guess. You need me to authorize live deployment." "We need you to decide," Yannick said quietly. "Prometheus can save Earth, but it could also destroy half the solar system if used without control." They stood in silence. Finally, Arya asked, "Who else knows about this?" "Only the Council, and now you." She looked again at the machine. It didn't look like a weapon. It looked like something pulled from a different universe. Something not meant for human hands. Back in the briefing room, she met with the Council through secured comms. "We can't hold off another full-scale assault," said Counselor Mar. "Prometheus is our only hope." "But it could backfire," Arya replied. "And it might destroy Earth instead of saving it." "That's why we put it in your hands," another member said. "You've seen war. You know the cost." Arya leaned back in her chair. She thought of Europa, of the fire and screams. She thought of the frightened crew on Dauntless, and the families waiting on Earth who didn't know how close they were to extinction. She nodded slowly. "Begin full diagnostics. Run every safety check. No shortcuts." Yannick bowed his head. "Yes, Captain." As she stood to leave, her comm device vibrated again. A secure alert from Luna Command. "New fleet movements detected," the message read. "Thalaxian warships spotted near Neptune orbit. Estimated time to Earth orbit, 72 hours. The next wave was coming. Arya looked back at the Prometheus chamber one last time. "We may not get a second chance," she said. She turned to leave. The machine behind her hummed louder. It had heard her. The moon hung silent above Earth, cold and gray. Buried beneath its surface was Luna Command, one of humanity's last fortified defense hubs. Captain Arya Voss had returned from Echo 7 to oversee Prometheus's activation and prepare for the next Thalaxian wave. But something was wrong. The moment she stepped into Luna's command center, she felt it. Tension in the air, hushed voices, glances exchanged too quickly. Commander Rafi greeted her with a tight expression. "Captain, we've detected anomalies in the Prometheus systems. Power surges. Code interference." Arya narrowed her eyes. "Internal error?" Rafi shook his head. "We think it's sabotage." They moved quickly. The engineering deck was locked down, but the damage was already spreading. Critical Prometheus components, quantum coils, targeting nodes, AI regulators, were glitching in and out of sync. Some of the sabotage was physical, wires cut, parts removed. Other signs pointed to a deeper breach. "Someone tampered with the neural AI," said Dr. Yannick, his face pale. "If we had activated Prometheus without checking, it could have misfired. It might have torn a hole through Luna itself." Arya clenched her jaw. "Do we have any suspects?" Security logs showed 3 unauthorized access points in the last 24 hours. One came from a visiting technician. The second came from an AI maintenance team. But the third, deepest and most dangerous, came from an encrypted channel connected to the outer colonies. "Thalaxian infiltration," Rafi said. "They got a signal inside. Could have been a spy or a virus." Arya issued an immediate lockdown. All Luna personnel were scanned. No one left the base. Meanwhile, She ordered Prometheus into a separate power grid, away from Luna's systems. She stood in the cold control room, arms crossed, watching technicians scramble to repair what had nearly been destroyed. This wasn't just an attack. It was a message. The Thalaxians didn't want to fight. They wanted Earth unprepared, scattered, afraid. And worse, they were already moving again. New reports showed Thalaxian fleets crossing Neptune orbit. Massive ships with gravitational weapons. Smaller cruisers cloaked in stealth. They weren't just coming. They were coordinating. Earth had less than 48 hours. The Council contacted her again. Their tone had changed. "You must launch Prometheus now," Mars said firmly. "If we wait, they'll strike first." Europa was only the beginning. Arya shook her head. Prometheus was almost destroyed. "Someone wants us to rush. I won't give them that chance." Counselor Mars' image stiffened. "What's the alternative, Captain?" "Hope they show mercy." "They won't," Arya said. "But we don't beat them by acting desperate." After the call ended, she walked alone through the Luna observation deck. Through the thick glass, she saw Earth spinning peacefully below, clouds drifting over oceans. It was hard to believe that in 2 days, it could be burning. Rafi joined her quietly. "You still trust Prometheus?" he asked. "I trust it as much as I trust any weapon built to rewrite physics," she said. "But I trust the people who built it. And I trust what we're fighting for." She turned toward him. "Ready the fleet. I want Dauntless and all strike ships prepped for launch. We meet the Thalaxians at Mars orbit." "And Prometheus?" Rafi asked. "We bring it with us," she said. "It's our last card, and we're going to play it at the right moment." That night, under emergency lights, engineers worked around the clock. Prometheus was repaired, tested, and loaded onto Dauntless. It was now connected to Aria's neural signature. Only she could activate it. As she stood on the bridge of her ship, watching Earth fade behind her, a new message came through. A direct transmission. From Vecthar. The High Regent's face appeared on the screen, still and cold. "You delay the inevitable," he said. "But you cannot escape it. Surrender, and your world will be spared extinction. Resist, and you will be buried beneath your arrogance." Arya didn't flinch. "Come and see for yourself," she replied. The message ended. Stars streaked past as Dauntless moved into final formation. Behind her, Earth prepared for impact. Ahead, the enemy closed in with force. Prometheus pulsed deep in the ship's core, waiting. The end was coming, and Earth was ready to meet it. The blackness of space stretched wide, silent and cold. But beyond Mars' orbit, silence would not last long. Captain Arya Voss stood on the command deck of Dauntless, helmet clipped to her side, eyes fixed on the main screen. The Thalaxian fleet was closing in, fast. Dozens of warships, shaped like daggers, moved in sharp formation. Their hulls shimmered with cloaking pulses, barely visible to the naked eye, but the scanners caught them. They were coming in waves. Behind Dauntless, the Earth defense fleet took position. Frigates, cruisers, and drone squadrons spread out in a tight battle arc. The Mars orbital batteries were online. The space between Mars and Earth had become a final shield. Arya turned to Commander Rafi. "Is Prometheus online?" Rafi nodded. "Powered and synced to your neural command. It's stable." "Good," she said. "We hold this line no matter what. No retreat. No surrender." The enemy appeared just beyond Phobos, Mars' tiny moon. The lead Thalaxian battleship, twice the size of Dauntless, activated its weapons grid. Green light shimmered across its surface. The first volley hit seconds later. A blast of energy slammed into one of Earth's outer cruisers. The ship split in two, flaming wreckage spinning toward the planet. Arya gave the order. "Engage all forward weapons. Fire at will." The battle exploded. Laser fire lit up the void. Human ships darted through the chaos, trading shots with Thalaxian destroyers. Drones swarmed like angry hornets. Several enemy fighters broke through the left flank, only to be cut down by a hidden cluster of missile turrets near Mars' North Pole. Dauntless shook as a Thalaxian plasma cannon struck its shields. "Shields holding at 62%, someone shouted. Arya braced herself. She'd trained for this, but this was no simulation. Every decision now meant lives. Every second brought them closer to the edge. "Bring Prometheus online," she ordered. A low hum rose through the ship. Deep in its core, the machine activated. Blue light flowed through the systems. Arya closed her eyes for a moment as her neural link connected. She could feel it, an odd pressure in her mind, like touching the surface of a storm. Prometheus wasn't just a weapon. It was aware. Waiting. Target their command ship, she said. The AI inside Prometheus responded. Coordinates locked. Patterns predicted. A visual of the Thalaxian lead ship lit the screen. Fire. There was no explosion. No beam. Instead, the Thalaxian command ship stopped moving. Then, slowly, it began to crumble, its engines shutting down, its weapons freezing. Smaller ships around it spun off course. One by one, systems failed. It was as if time had skipped forward and left them behind. A cheer rose across the fleet. But it didn't last. The remaining Thalaxian ships changed tactics. They broke formation, charging directly toward Dauntless. This was no longer a battle. It was an act of desperation. They're trying to destroy Prometheus, Rafi said. They know it's the only thing that can stop them. Another hit rocked the ship. Sparks flew across the control panels. One engine unit was down. Hull integrity was dropping fast. Then came the worst of it. A massive shape approached from the rear. The final Thalaxian warship, sleek, black, and pulsing with green light, burst out of the asteroid belt. Vecthar, the High Regent, had come himself. He opened a direct channel to Dauntless. His image flickered onto the screen. You humans never learn, he growled. You reach for power that was never meant for your kind. You will fall. Arya stared him down. Not today. Before he could reply, she cut the transmission. Prepare boarding team, she said. I'm going to finish this. Rafi looked at her. You're going over there? I'm not letting him get close enough to destroy this ship. I'll end it myself. In minutes, a shuttle detached from Dauntless, slipping through the battlefield under escort fire. It reached Vecthar's flagship and breached the hull. Arya led a strike team inside. The halls were dark, full of strange green light and the smell of burned metal. Thalaxian soldiers attacked, but Arya moved fast, her team cutting through with precision. They fought their way to the bridge. There, waiting for her, was Vecthar. The High Regent stood tall in black armor, holding a crackling plasma blade. Arya stepped forward, weapon drawn. You came to die, he hissed. I came to finish it, she said. They clashed. Steel rang against plasma. Sparks flew. The fight was brutal, close, personal. Every blow from Vecthar was heavy and fast. But Arya was faster, smarter. She used every lesson, every instinct. With one final strike, she drove her blade through his chest. Vecthar staggered. His eyes locked on hers. This isn't the end, he said. No, she replied. It's the beginning. He fell. The ship began to collapse. Arya and her team escaped just before it exploded, bursting in a brilliant green fireball. Back on Dauntless, the remaining Thalaxian ships powered down and drifted, leaderless, defeated. Earth's fleet stood victorious. The stars were quiet again. Prometheus powered down. The battlefield above Mars had gone quiet. Wreckage floated across space, shattered ships, broken drones, and drifting pieces of armor. Lights from damaged vessels blinked like dying stars. Fires still burned inside some of the larger husks, their energy cores slowly venting into the cold vacuum. Captain Arya Voss stood on the bridge of Dauntless, staring at the vast silence. It was over. Commander Rafi approached her, helmet tucked under one arm. His face was tired but steady. All remaining Thalaxian ships have gone dark. No life signs. No movement. Arya nodded slowly. And casualties? Hi, he said quietly. We lost 4 frigates. Almost 200 gone. Another 100 injured across the fleet. But we held the line. Arya said nothing for a moment. She was still listening. To the ship, to the silence, to herself. The humming in her head from Prometheus had stopped. The neural link was gone. The machine was now dormant. Deep in the engineering bay, Prometheus sat cold and quiet, its glow extinguished. The core had shut down minutes after the last Thalaxian signal vanished. Dr. Yanek confirmed that the AI inside had entered a full stasis mode, like it knew its purpose was complete. Later that day, Earth Global Council broadcasted a universal message across all colonies and systems. The Thalaxian Dominion has been defeated. Humanity stands united and free. The battle for survival is won. Celebrations broke out in cities across Earth, Luna, and Mars. Families wept. Strangers embraced. Fireworks filled skies. Flags were raised. Ships that survived the battle flew in formation over the red horizon of Mars in honor of those lost. But Arya didn't attend the celebration. Instead, she walked alone through the quiet corridors of Dauntless, now docked at the Mars repair ring. She visited the memorial wall, freshly updated with the names of the fallen. She touched the engraved name of a young pilot she had trained herself. Her eyes closed. "This victory belongs to them," she whispered. She later met with the Earth Council via secured hololink. Counselor Mars spoke with solemn respect. "You saved Earth, Captain. You held off a superior force and used the most powerful weapon ever made with precision. You've earned the gratitude of an entire planet." "We didn't win because of Prometheus," Arya replied. "We won because we stood together. Because we didn't give up, even when it looked impossible." The council fell silent. She added, "Prometheus should never be used again. It's too powerful. We came close to losing control of it. Next time, we might not be so lucky." They agreed. Within days, Prometheus was dismantled, its components split across multiple locations. The AI core was placed in deep stasis inside a vault beneath the Arctic Circle. Earth agreed not to rebuild it unless there was no other choice. The war was over, but its memory would remain. Weeks later, Arya walked through a park dome on Mars, now open to civilians again. Children played on artificial grass. Drones hovered above, scanning for signs of stress in the new infrastructure. She sat on a bench, watching the sky. Jupiter hung like a pale giant in the distance. Somewhere beyond it were the ruins of enemy ships. But here, the air was quiet. The people were rebuilding. Humanity had survived. Commander Rafi joined her with 2 cups of steaming tea. "You ever think we'd see a day like this?" he asked. Arya shook her head gently. "No, but I hoped we would." They sat together in silence, sipping quietly. For the first time in years, she felt something close to peace. Not because the danger was gone, but because, for now, the stars were still, and Earth was ready for whatever came next.